Right. What's going on, everybody? The Iceman here on the Iceman V2013 YouTube channel, the Jeffrey Rose YouTube channel, only on the Iceman Wrestling Network here on YouTube.com. And it is a Thursday night. And yeah, okay. I want to first give a great, big, huge shout out to BEARSTOWN 19 for getting his 200th sub. Great job, BEARSTOWN. You are a friend of mine. You always will be a friend of mine. And like I've told you in the past, don't worry about the hate. Don't worry about what anybody says to you. Just worry about you being you. And the bottom line is, I'm always there, man. I'm always there. You are one of the nicest guys here on YouTube. You're always commenting nicely to people's videos. And I know sometimes people get you very, very upset, and you sort of lose your little focus here. But you know something? You're a great guy, and I cannot wait for you to get your 300th sub. So we're going to talk about in this video here tonight. Um, you know, I talk a lot about WCW. Okay, I talk a lot about TNA wrestling, and the reason being, um, you know, I grew up. I watched the old WWF. I thought it was pretty boring because belt, anybody that had a belt, they never lost the belt. And so anytime you saw a title match, you knew darn well that the champion was always going to retain because belts just, they held them for forever, okay? And that was the thing. And then when I got into NWA wrestling, I mean, it was a whole different ballgame. I mean, a lot of action. It was fast paced. Fans were close to the ring. Everything was just so cool. The announcing was great. It wasn't laid back, and whatnot. I mean, they were really getting into the matches. And then when NWA went into WCW, it continued. It continued on. And of course, when WCW formed Nitro, now remember this, they had WCW Saturday Night, okay, which I thought was a great show. I used to love the Clash of Champions show they used to have, but when they formed Nitro, they just really energized their product. And of course, the WWE, it was okay back then, but it just, to me, it just didn't give me what I wanted because I was used to NWA content and whatnot, fast-paced wrestling, a lot of really, I mean, it was just a lot of really good stuff. The WWE was just more like a laid-back type wrestling. Yeah, you had Hulkamania, and I understand it. Don't get me wrong, I understand that. And then until the Ultimate Warrior came around, there was really nothing huge in the old WWF days, quote unquote, so to speak. But I just could still latch on to WCW. And the reason why I'm talking about this is, the day WCW died in March of 2001, this took a lot away from me because I watched this franchise promotion for so long. I watched them flourish. I watched them grow. I saw huge things. They dominated the WWE for 80 plus weeks. And, I'll be quite honest with you. I think Eric Bischoff sort of lost sight of himself. He got so wrapped up in NWO and whatnot. And he was just doing so much stuff. He just couldn't keep up with things. And it just got to the point where it was too much for Eric Bischoff. It really was. Eric Bischoff in WCW, for the time that he took over and beat the WWF in ratings, was probably, the biggest thing that could have ever happened in the world of professional wrestling. Because what it did was it made the WWF have to become bigger, as we all know, and we all talk about the Attitude Era, and I'm not going to get into that. But WCW, when they went down in March of 2001, and I was hoping WWF would keep them open, have a separate brand, just continue on. But they didn't want to do it. And, I guess in a way I can understand it because it was their rival. And they do, they ain't going to do anything to help their rival. And, because, that's just how the WWF was back in those days. So when they closed down and they went out of business, I was like, okay, so now, with all the other wrestling promotions that were pretty much gone at that time, you still, ECW, the same thing for ECW. Um, but, and then, soon thereafter, we had Ring of Honor, we had TNA, and um, for some reason, I don't know, obviously it was very hard to watch TNA because, it was just hard to get it. And when you were able to get it and you started watching it, you're going, okay, wow, this stuff's really cool. And when Jeff Jarrett and his dad got TNA rolling and flowing, I mean, whenever you got to watch it, I mean, they had their like weekly Wednesdays on demand for like $9.99, and if you ever ordered them, you weren't disappointed. So it continued on for quite a period of time until Fox Sports Net took over, and then they had an hour show, which was like aired like 11 o'clock at night. And I know there was like airings at other places like 2 in the morning and whatnot. But if you got to watch them, you started getting glued because Jarrett had a conglomeration of huge stars in that promotion, which excited everybody. And when I started watching it, and I still do go back and I watch the old shows. I'm into April, I believe right now of 2005 of TNA Impact on Fox Sports Net. They were just totally great. So it was sort of like it replaced the loss of WWCW, or excuse me, WCW. It was a void, but it replaced it. And it didn't take much because TNA Total Nonstop Wrestling was great. It was great. But see, people don't understand this because a lot of people never got a chance to watch it. I was fortunate enough to get to watch it, but a lot of people didn't get the opportunity to watch it. So from then on, from its inception, I continued to watch as much as I could. And then finally, I mean finally, in 2006, Spike TV cut a deal with Total Nonstop Action, TNA Impact Wrestling. And I saw their first ever prime time 2-hour wrestling show, which main evented Rhino, the NWA World Champion, against Jeff Jarrett and Planet Jarrett. Totally awesome. Jeff Hardy was there. Everybody remembers Monty Brown. He was awesome. Where is Monty Brown to this day? I think Monty Brown was a great, great wrestler. But, what I'm trying to get to is the WWE always finds a way to put themselves way above the rest. But I will say this, back in the days of TNA, they were much like WCW, but they didn't get the exposure. They didn't get really the network exposure for everybody to watch. And if they did, I think they would have been awesome competition for the WWF. But obviously, it didn't happen. And to this day, as we move on throughout the past years and whatnot, yeah, TNA, it went on a downhill slide. After Jarrett had left, I mean, his wife had passed away. I believe it was in 2007. I think it was 2007, prior to Slammiversary, May of 2007. I think that was the year. Things changed. You didn't see Jarrett much on TV no more. But they still had like the likes of Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. We had Christian. There was a lot of great stars there. And, but to be quite honest with you, since the Attitude Era of the WWF, it just everybody once WCW went down, everybody was just turning to the WWF. They never really gave TNA, Impact Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling really much of a chance, and it's unfortunate because I think from their very beginning until until like 2009, it was the best wrestling in the business, and I'm serious about this. I really am. A lot of people will say you're crazy. The WWF was better, but you know something? Really go back and watch it. If you really didn't watch it, don't really make an opinion on it because obviously then you don't really know what you're talking about. TNA wrestling was superb back then. Now, I'm not praising it uh, present day like it was back then because obviously I don't think the product is that good. There's a lot of issues and it's unfortunate, but I will always stick with TNA until the day if they do die, much like I did with WCW. And it's always the same common denominator. It's always the WWE that remains on top. And the bottom line is, really, when it's all said and done, their product is really not all that good. It's just their reputation that keeps them alive. And that's the God's honest truth. And I know all you guys out there know this, but a lot of people that are WWE fans will never admit it. I mean, it's reputation that keeps them going. So anyway, I wanted to put this out there. Um, TNA is my WCW, and I think a lot of people think that way as well. And for me, if TNA is gone, I just think there's a huge void in the world of professional wrestling. And I can see Vince with this huge ass smile on his face. And I just feel like going like this to Vince McMahon. I'm sorry. Um, I do like the WWE, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I like competition with other promotions because I think competition of other promotions make other promotions that much better. So anyway, there you have it. I'm sorry I'm a little bit long-winded here on a Thursday night, but I needed to put that out there. Peace out, everybody. And BEARSTOWN 19, keep up your great work. And you know something? Keep your chin up, buddy. Because I know where you're at, and you got a heart. I mean, that a lot of people just don't see. On that note, peace out. Have a great night.